Hello, this is Dan Ferrisi, Group Editor, Commercial and Security with Commercial Integrator here at the HD Base T booth at ISE 2025, joined by my friends Greg and Jimmy. We're going to be talking about meeting equity, what that means, how it's effectuated, how it's evolving. To start, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yep. Hi, I'm Greg Jeffries from Greg Jeffries Consulting and Visual Displays.
Hi, my name is Jimmy Vaughan. I work for Microsoft.
We heard of them. Yeah.
So let's start with the term meeting equity, which I think probably in many people's minds is an overused term. It's almost become a buzzword. I don't know if everyone really knows what it means anymore. And also, it's probably evolved somewhat from like the immediate pandemic aftermath to now people are trying to get people back into the office environment. What does meeting equity mean now? Can you give us a definitional sense in 2025 of what meeting equity actually means?
So if you ask 10 different people what the meaning of equity is, you'll get 10 different answers. And I think that's just a fact that you have to live with. So it's just very important that when you do talk about it, you're very clear about your terms of reference. For me, the overriding thing is the equity between not just the people within the room, but the equity with the people on the far side of the experience. It's this thing of breaking the fourth wall, of having that feeling of immediacy. That's my big thing. And apart from the physical room, I don't know about you, Jimmy.
From a Microsoft standpoint, there's a whole bunch of things that go into meeting equity, but when we talk about it and we sort of define it up front, what we really think about is the remote person and the in-person experience. What we're looking to do is make that an even playing field, not have one overpower the other one. Meaning that the in-person person is not having a better meeting than the person who's remote. We do that in a variety of different ways, but we at Microsoft have been looking for different ways to do it. We're doing a lot with AI right now. So a lot of that sort of focuses on the remote people, but we don't want the people in the room to actually miss out on things. So you'll see agents, you'll see different things coming in, but we've been striving the whole way to make sure that whether you're remote or inside of the meeting room itself, that you're not having a lesser experience. We've all been in bad meetings, whether it's whichever side you're on. Maybe I'm remote and I can't see the person at the head of the table. Maybe I'm in person and I can't actually, the person didn't have their camera on, or when they do have it on, it's all washed out and you don't see the people's hand gestures and things like that. Those are the kind of things that we're looking for. We're looking to break down those barriers and again, have a good experience for both remote and in person.
I think that's a really good way to think about it. Level the playing field, not have some people have a far better experience than others. You mentioned AI. Do we want to talk about some of the foundational technologies, reliable technologies, stable technologies that facilitate that kind of an experience?
Yeah, Facilitator is one of the new agents that we're coming out with right now, and that's really what the era of AI that we're going into is this agentic AI that is built on agents itself. Facilitator actually allows you, with the Teams room system or on your own Teams meeting itself, to actually have an AI identity that sits inside of the meeting, and when you query that agent knows about everything that's going inside of the meeting. It doesn't only respond to you, it actually responds to everybody inside of that meeting. But in the idea of meeting equity, what if you're inside of a meeting room and not on your personal device? Well, that agent will now also show up on Microsoft Teams rooms, allowing us to do a whole bunch of different things. One of the things that we're doing with Teams rooms that's really, really exciting is looking at the way that people meet. Not only in person and remote, but even if it's only an in-person meeting itself. When we think of Microsoft Teams rooms, a lot of people think of video conferencing solutions. But what about just that meeting itself, where I'm whiteboarding, where I'm doing things with two people inside of a room? What if Facilitator was there and the device itself was there so that we could actually take notes just between myself and Greg inside of a room? So that when we end that session, and maybe we've whiteboarded something out, that we don't just leave with a picture of the whiteboard, we leave with the entire context of the meeting. So you're looking at things, and no longer is this just a video conferencing device. Now it's actually a multi-purpose tool, and it's designed for that modern work inside of the office itself.
And what would you add, Greg, in terms of best practices to effectuate this sense of meeting equity, at least as you understand it, your understanding of it? What are the tools or the best practices to make it real?
Well, for me, I kind of come to it with two parallel threads, because you very rightly talked about the technology and the AI. But one of my big beefs is about the room design itself. Is just trying to make the preconditions of the room work so that the technology can really sing. And in some ways, the thing about room design has been thought of traditionally as being, where you spend money on the big fancy rooms. But in reality, now that we've got these, sub $1,000 systems and the whole thing has become commoditized, actually having the room design right is a really important thing. I look at it from a user experience design perspective. So the idea is that you start with the end in mind. You kind of try and understand the workflows, the personas as you call them in Microsoft, and just think about what's going to need to happen in the space, and then you kind of build the technology pack around that. The downside about in the AV industry is we're all technologists. We love the technology, and we're kind of very keen and happy to open that technology toolbox. But for me, I always like to take those first steps and think about sort of foundational things.
I think that really is important, because what we're trying to do is facilitate outcomes, right? I mean, the technology is simply a means to an end. It's an avenue to get to a destination, and we need to start on our path thinking of the destination first.
And Microsoft really looks at it and says, the technology should not interfere with a good meeting. When you think about a Teams room and walking into the room and hitting that button, and all of the technology works together to give you that experience, there's you said it perfectly. We're all technology people. We're okay doing things, but so many people are not. And fear of that technology inhibits them from starting the meeting on time, from being the first one to the room, from actually sitting inside of at the head of the table. One of the things, we're here in the HD-based T booth. One of the things that's great about this is actually getting that image all around the room, so nobody has a bad seat inside of the room itself.
In terms of making sure that channel partners, integrators, consultants are up to speed on meeting equity and all the various permutations and understandings of it, are there training resources? Are there opportunities for people to level up their knowledge base so that they can effectuate the kind of outcomes we're talking about?
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. We've developed some training packages, really as a result of working with Michelle and Jimmy. We've got this ease methodology, and Jimmy and I talked about this at the Converge Bootcamp back in Seattle a few months ago. So I think giving people that kind of an awareness and just giving them like the basic toolkit to be able to understand, to be able to talk to the integrators and to start that conversation.
Yeah, from a Microsoft standpoint, we have a whole bunch of learning paths for Microsoft Teams rooms that people can start at the very beginning. Myself and Mary Corrigan also do a Friday show every Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. It's selling Microsoft Teams rooms. We just ask for 10 minutes of your time, and we actually give you the news and the latest information of Microsoft Teams rooms so you can stay up to date. We also have Avixa training. It's one of the most popular Avixa trainings that they have is Microsoft Teams rooms, where you can actually go and get RU credits on your CTS path as well. But we work with partners, we work with customers, we work with everybody to make sure that not only are Teams rooms deployed successfully, but the adoption programs are there as well. I can't tell you how important an adoption program is from a Microsoft partner to the customer to make sure that everybody understands how to book that meeting room, how to walk in and start the meeting, how to do everything that they need to do. While we all think that it's easy to do, we need to make sure that everybody's comfortable using the technology itself.
No, you're 100% right. Technology does not exist by itself. It needs to be adopted, it needs to be used, and it could be the best technology in the world, but if it's not being used, to what end is it there? So thank you so much, Jimmy. Thank you so much, Greg. If you have any closing thoughts, I'd love to hear them. But thank you for illuminating meeting equity as it exists in 2025 and giving us some ideas about tools and resources so that channel partners, integrators, consultants can make this more of a reality for their clients.
Yeah, I think with my closing thoughts, I'm going to tell you, we just recently publicly announced that we reached 1 million Teams rooms. Well, that is only a small chunk of what we think is the total addressable market. So as people go out, as partners are going out, as customers are going back to the office and things like that, we know that there's more rooms, and we're looking at scale. We're looking at getting these devices out there in large numbers, because it all comes back to one question. Do you work the same way that you did 6 years ago? And the answer is no. So we need to make sure that their modern tools are in the office so that people can work the way that they do modern.
No, that was a fantastic conversation. Thank you for inviting it. I think this thing about equity is an awareness thing, and I'm glad that it's growing. Nowadays when we're aware that we're all on some sort of point of the neurodiverse scale, I think being respectful of people and their differences, having these conversations is really important. So thank you for inviting us.
Well, thank you for facilitating the conversation by being here. Really appreciate it, Greg. Really appreciate it, Jimmy. My name is Dan Ferrisi, Group Editor, Commercial and Security, working with Commercial Integrator here at the HD-based T-Booth at ISE 2025, speaking with some of our industry's most renowned thought leaders on topical issues of the day.